Hello and welcome to another guide. Today we're gonna take a look at the Ionic framework to build apps, basically. So let's go to ionicframework.com and let's click on Get Started. Alright, so right now we need to install some packages. So first of all, we need Node.js, which can be downloaded from nodejs.org. So you download this version. When you've done that, you copy paste this code and you open your terminal. So I'm gonna open the terminal here, and then basically just run it in the terminal. Whenever you've done that, you're gonna start the app. You're gonna create an actual app right now. So we're gonna change the directory to my desktop, and in here we're gonna create a new directory. We're gonna say make directory. We're gonna call this app my app. Alright, so then we're gonna enter it. We're gonna do cd my app, and then we're gonna do Ionic start my app, just as the documentation says. So start my app, and we can choose from three templates actually. Either the side menu or the tabs or a blank. I'm gonna make tabs just for easier, to make it a bit easier actually. So yes, we would like to integrate iOS and Android. So while this is running, we're gonna open up our Visual Studio. Alright, so let's create a new project here. And I want to use a core web API, which you can find in app and the core web API. So we're gonna make a RESTful service basically. So we're gonna call this for my app API, and no, we don't want Git, and yeah, create it. Alright, let's see what's going on here. No, we don't want Pro. Okay, so now we can do cd my app, and then Ionic start, and we can see our app getting built. Alright, so here we are now. So we can do like this, or I actually prefer to open the inspector and have it lean on the right side to create this app view, instead of having it the normal way like this. Alright, so we're gonna open a new editor, and then let's drag up a project of mine and like that. Alright, so here we have it, and I'm gonna change it to right here so we can switch between views easier. Okay, so this is our tree view in the app basically. So everything which is not inside the source folder, you shouldn't touch it if you don't know what it does. Basically, it's just a bunch of information required for the app to function. But you can go to config and the XML, and you can change the name of your app to a cool app name, and change the author and the description. Also the widget ID, which is required for iOS development, and that's basically it. So okay, I'm gonna close this now. Let's save it. Okay, so first we need to open the page. So the landing page is the home page, and then we have the about and the contact page. So it's pretty basic right now. It's only the structure of the app we got. So we can open the HTML, and right here we can start writing the code. I'm gonna copy it here. and in our constructor we want to declare which modules we want to use. So we're going to declare the HTTP private actually to make it only accessible through the scope, this class. So let's call it HTTP, and it's going to take it from HTTP, this one. This is the name for the module that we're going to call, basically. So, alright, let's make a function called getData. Our API won't be very very extreme, only basically a simple API which will return an array or a string, basically. So whatever data you want to collect from your API, you want to pick a method called a reasonable name, basically. So if you want to get feed, you want to get feed. So we're going to do getData to make it pretty abstract. So let's declare some starter values like our URI. So it's gonna be, if I'm not correct, my HTTP localhost 5000, which is the standard Visual Studio when we start the project. So that's gonna be the URL or URI. And now we're going to write the actual HTTP or the HTTP request. So we want to make a post first, or actually maybe only a post. So we're going to make it a response, or we can make it constant. Then we want to make this async actually. So the data will come asynchronous. Or the method will be asynchronous, basically. So we're going to say this.http .post and the URI we want to send it to. So right here, when we look back at our API, we have our controllers. So we have the values controller. So it's basically the router will be API, or will be localhost 5000 /API /values. So this method will be called when we do a post. So let's remove all other code which is not necessary. So basically, whatever we send to our API will be caught in this parameters. So we're gonna make a dynamic, make an object called object. Dynamic, I've explained in a previous episode that it's pretty easy to just say that we want, sometimes we maybe want an object, or another time we want a string. Like, it really depends on how your controller is built and how the structure is is made from the ground of the application, basically. So if this controller is only supposed to get like a username and a user ID, you maybe want to declare that and not only make a dynamic. But for easier, we want to make it dynamic right now. So let's see what we want to send. So perhaps the server will be locked or will be required like a authentication key or something. So maybe we want to send an object with our URL or with our post request. So we're gonna make an object called object actually. So we can send a key. So this key will have the values of 1, 2, 3. And now we have var, the key is equals to the object.key. So when we send this whole object, we will get the key by saying object.key. Okay, so we have /API, or actually we can make slash here to not repeat it that much. /values. And we need some more parameters. We need the body stringified. So basically, to send it through an HTTP request, we need to stringify it. So we do JSON.stringify, and then the object is a parameter. And lastly, we're gonna need a header. This is pretty important to declare that what we want to send is a JSON format, or actually, yeah, the payload will be in JSON. So we're gonna make headers. So let's say let headers equals to new headers, and we're gonna do headers.append. So we're gonna append a content type, and we're gonna declare that as application/JSON. This is pretty important actually, because you could also say text/JSON, I believe, but application is what I found the best. Okay, so we need to append our headers here as well. So the headers we send are the headers we just created. And lastly, we need actually nothing. Oh, I forgot one to import. Oh, right, headers as well, like this. Yeah. So import HTTP and headers. You don't need to import headers in the app.module, if I'm not mistaken. We'll see. So to make this asynchronous, we need to say that this is a promise. So we say toPromise, and that's actually it. So this will return a status. So if we log the response right now, it will say like 404 or 200, like it's okay. So we need to say that we want to get the JSON back from, we need to get the data that our API sends us back, basically. So we're going to declare that data is equals to the response and the response.json. Does not exist. That's pretty weird. Okay, let's see, what did I miss? Oh, right. When you say await here as well. That's why. Yes. So yeah, to make it asynchronous, we need to say that this call needs to be waited for, basically. So now we can do whatever we want, basically. So we're gonna log the data to see what we get. So we're not gonna manipulate the HTML as yet, because we don't know what to send back yet, which is what we're gonna do right now. So we get the key, and we can say like if this key is equals to 123, or it's 123, then we can do whatever we want. We can return a list, perhaps a list of a class. So let me class. Oh, we need to name it. We can call it the payload that goes back to the user, basically. So let's create some new values here. So this is gonna return a list of the payload that we're gonna create. So whatever we can do, that we can actually create some new values here. We can do public string, the content, and public int content either. So this can be whatever, actually whatever you want in the payload. The content can be whatever. So the payload can take two parameters. It can take content, and it's going to take the content either. So right now we're going to say this.content is equals to content. Content ID is equals to content ID. Alright, so right now we need to make a new list as well. So we're going to say new list is equals to a new list of the payload, actually. So if key, we're just going to add some stuff to this. So I'll add list, or list.add. So in here we can say, let's make a new payload. We need to make a new instance of the class to insert into a list, basically. So this, as we remember, it takes two parameters. It takes a string, some content, and this is the first one. So let's do this a few times. With that, 2 and 3. Let's change this a little bit. Yes, so now we can say return list. That's pretty much it. If there's one issue with this, is that we can only return the list if the key is 1, 2, 3. So what we need to do now is to modify the payload. So let's make a new class called response instead. So this response will take a string. Let's make it actually public or bool success and error and a message, and that's going to be a string. And let's do a new list as well. So this list can take the payload. We insert payload and the constructor. So we need to create a few different constructors depending on the outcome of the actual application. So perhaps you don't want to send an error or a message if the if statement is actually true and you only want to return the list. So if this code is executed, the success is true, but there's no error or there's no message. Pretty much the message is connected to the error, so it's the error message. Make that a little bit clearer. So we'll make a bool success and bool error and string error message. So we want to use this constructor if our call within the app is failed or has an error or bug, whatever. So if it fails, and if it doesn't fail, we want to pretty much print success as true, and we want to use the list to let's see, and we want to insert a list. So say this. So what we can do now, we're gonna return a response instead and not a list. So now we can do return new response, and we're gonna say that, yeah, it actually did succeed and here's our payload, like this. And if it doesn't, so pretty much the if, and we have, instead of an else, we just write the return here, since if this code is executed, then it's going to return here and the code below won't execute. So we're going to return a new response with a success of false, with an error of true, and the message will be that the key is invalid, pretty much. So I'm going to remove this one. So yeah, let's see how this works out. Let's run this. Let's see, there's our app. Okay, it takes some time. Yeah, so that's our URL. It's 5,000. And let's see here, when we run our app, will it work? Good question. So let's check the console and see that error, static injection on home page. Okay, so that indicates that the HTTP has not been declared in the app module, but it is, that's what I can see. Oh, yes, there's one more thing we need to add. Actually, it's the HTTP module and not HTTP. So when it's in the import, it's gonna be the module here. So we're going to HTTP module instead, because that's what. No, it's, yeah, okay, now it works. So we haven't called the function I do remember. So we can say that Ion view did load. It's pretty much the function that will execute when the view has loaded. It's accessible for our client to reach the server, basically. You can read more about course, but I have a quick fix for this. I actually forgot that you have had to do it. Okay, so in our startup, we're gonna need a few things added. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna actually take this class here and I'll post the code in the description, like this. And this will say a few things because we need to import some stuff. Let's see those as well, using a bunch of stuff, yes. And if I'm not correct or wrong, you need a program as well. No, that's fine. Yeah, so this is everything you need to make it run right now. I am sure. So let's run it and see if it works this time. Alright, seems to be working. Okay, so yeah, now we got a response and it's success, or it's error false. No message since we didn't provide one. Success is true, and this is our list basically. I mean, this is an array of a bunch of objects. Okay, let's easily print them. So I'm gonna do the data that we get, make it declared as an array. So this is data. It's a new array when we initialize the app, and we can say if data.success is true. So instead we can write just a simple command like that instead of saying equals true. So we're gonna assign the value. So this data is equals to data dot payload. Yeah, the payload. Okay, so in our home.html we can remove all of the things and use the, let's see, let's watch their, let's see. Oh, their documentation. So components, and then we have a bunch of lists. Yeah, we can use lists. So those are some pretty basic lists that the app, the Ionic framework provides. So this is the for loop in Angular. So we can say for each item in items. So instead of this is data for each item of data, and let's remove the click function when I need it. So, and now since our payload looks like objects, we need to declare that we want to get the content and not the actual object. So let's see, if we run this as only printing the whole object, it will probably print out. So that's why we need to say that we want the dot content instead. Some content 1, content 2, yeah. thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, please let me know.